This is Tea with Botha.
Well, thank you once again for joining us. We are now going to be talking to Kabelo Mathopo. He will tell us more about who he is, where he comes from, what does he do. I look forward to an interesting discussion with him, or a conversation. We're having tea with him. We call this Tea with Botha. Thank you so much and welcome.
Afternoon. Thank you, Tate, for having me.
Thank you. Mamela Kabelo. Who is Kabelo?
Kabelo. Okay, let's unpack Kabelo. Kabelo is the son of Ellen and Ramaka Mathopo. Kabelo is a boy who lives in Deep Kloof, Soweto, as well as Goshawela. He was raised by his loving parents, who instilled the ethos of hard work, who instilled that education is key to everything. And I had a father, or still have a father, should I say, that pushed us to follow the legal sort of path, and that's who Kabelo is. Kabelo is this individual that has followed legal, but however, Kabelo is an individual that I would arguably say wants to make a change in South Africa. Kabelo is an individual that has seen the chaos, the conflicts that has happened in Black South Africans. Kabelo is unapologetic about assisting Black South Africans in terms of the business that we have, which obviously we'll unpack in terms of WILLSFOREVER. Kabelo is perhaps on this sort of philanthropy struggle to educate, to empower Black South Africans more specifically, because I feel deep down that Black South Africans are the ones that really, really require this information. Information is readily available, but is it accessible? Information in the sense of wills, estate planning is there, but is it reaching the right people? And that is what WILLSFOREVER and what Kabelo is passionate about. That is what WILLSFOREVER and Kabelo are trying to change. And we are trying to, in essence, change the narrative.
So WILLSFOREVER. When was it conceptualized? Why was it conceptualized?
Okay, that's a great question. WILLSFOREVER was conceptualized almost five years ago. How WILLSFOREVER came about, or was conceived, is the following. I was one day sitting on my couch, perhaps in just watching TV on a Sunday, just like today. And then I was channel hopping one day, and I came across a show called, I think maybe it's Ifelani. Ifelani, then the story that was narrated or broadcasted on the day related to a family that there was a dispute of mang gets what, etc., etc. The common sort of story, Momolokshin, is that Focus. Exactly. The township. So
someone had died.
Exactly. Someone had passed away, and the family was fighting over what the deceased had left. Exactly.
Exactly. This is my home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So nabalwana that type of thing, Lili Goloi and Dichelet. So I was
fighting over cars, money. In fact, what the estate of the disease.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They were in net effect fighting over what was in that estate and what they could gather. Now, I sat there, I watched it. It was a very humorous, like these Moja Love type of shows. They're humorous. They are. They are.
They are.
They are relatable.
Yeah. They are relatable.
Yes, because
but it doesn't seem they're made for darkies only.
Of course.
Yeah.
And
you look at what Jola 99.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we were watching these types of shows. They're relatable because mang and sometimes it's in your own household. Exactly. Deep Kloof, These are relatable stories, and that's why I suppose Moja Love get a lot of traction, because
so the Moja Love and these stories are a mirror of ourselves. Sometimes we may hate the mirror. sometimes we may even detest that too. Is this who we are? Am I right?
Exactly.
So as a result of that, this concept Wills Forever was born.
So yes, just to jump back on that, I sat there, like I said before, watching the show, and then I laughed, but then I turned off the TV, and then it dawned upon me, this isn't actually quite funny. And I said, and this brainwave came to me. Let me go look at the previous episodes. As you know, you can check on catch up, look at the other episodes, other episodes, and perhaps maybe you can tell me, what do you think was a common, call it, denominator in all of those episodes? I'm asking you.
You're turning the tables.
I'm turning the tables.
You feel very unfair. You got me caught me off guard. I want to interrupt you again.
No.
You're telling this. What's your question again? Let me see.
My question was following that.
All right.
Was that, what do you think was the common denominator when I watched an episode after episode after episode on this Ifelani or this Mojo?
Just about fighting.
Good question, good answer, but there was let me answer there. The common denominator was the people that were there, and the people that were there were you and I. There was unfortunately no Van der Merwe, no Van Niekerk, no Naidu.
These were darkies.
These were only darkies, black people, black South Africans. And I have nothing against the Van der Merwes and the Naidus and the latter. But the common denominator, as I noticed on the show, was that it's only black South Africans. Why is it black South Africans that have to be? Why do we as black South Africans have to laugh at each other? Why is it always black South Africans that are on these shows? It's funny, it's relatable, but when you sit back and that about this, you sort of say to yourself, where do we draw the line? When does this suddenly change? When does it become a situation whereby black South Africans get important things such as wills? When does it become a scenario where the shows show success stories, not turmoil and chaos? So that's how Wills Forever was conceived. I then sat and I said, look, if no one's going to sort of change this, let me try my best. One significant change in one person's life means the world to me, and it will mean the world to my business. So if I can change one life, and how I perceive it is that if you can change one individual's life, it will create a generation.
There'll be a snowball effect.
100%. And with that change, then at the very least, we're looking at that family or families sort of saying to themselves, no, Ndataka took a will. I must have the same foresight. Lina must take a will.
Now that you talk about, what's a will?
Okay. A will is a legally binding document that indicates and outlines your last wishes. So in a situation of this nature, you would say that, look, I have the following assets. Assets can be your cars, your house. You can also put in your investment. In a will, you can indicate how you want to be buried. You want to be cremated. Do you want to be buried in Johannesburg? Maybe we could know, that must take me to Limpopo or KZN. You can deal with a lot of aspects in your will. So a will is just outlining that, look, upon my untimely passing, this is how I want my estate to be distributed. This is what I have. And these are the individuals that I want to give the following assets to.
But people say, Wena Kabelo, why do I need a will? Because Bona, I have no house, I have no money, I have no children. But no, this is a more Eurocentric. These are white people's thing. Why do I need a will? Are you saying every Dick, Tom, Harry, or Salamina need a will?
Yes.
It's not niks. Even if I am poor, I don't have a dog, I don't have a house, I don't have a car, I have nothing to my name.
Ndate, let me demystify that question, because a lot of people ask that, but not next. Why do I need a will? You know what I mean? And then my quick response is that is incorrect. The clothes you wear, modulanting. You have a bed, you have a car, or maybe you have a car, maybe you have a TV, a fridge, some of us have expensive clothing. Those are worth something. The cell phone you have, the laptop. So this misconception that agnanex is far from the truth. You do have things. You do have things of value. I've had a sort of a client that comes and said, look, I've got nothing, I've just got children. But you need to understand, if you pass away, you can list in your will who should be the guardians of those children. If you don't have anything, you can say, you know what, I want to be buried Kochai, not here in Johannesburg. Your will outline that. So, hey, you know, those are the types of things you can put into your will. So it's not I don't have anything, I don't need this, you know, no, we need to change that narrative. And always remember that if you do a will now, your circumstances could change in a year or 2 years or 3 years. But at the very least, you'd come back and say, okay, wills forever. I did a will when I was 20. I'm now 25. My circumstances have changed. Can we just go amend the will and change those things?
So we all need wills.
We all do.
What is the process of setting up a will? What do I do? What does it entail?
Okay. What a will and the process, it's very simple. I think, you know, also the misconception of a lot of people is that it's a complex legal process.
It's
expensive, and you know, it's only for the elite. It's only
or people who speak English, good English.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's not the case in that. A will is for every, as you mentioned, every Tom, Dick, and Harry. The process is a simple one. You and I sitting like this. You tell me what you have. I write it down. I prepare that document for you. And then once I'm done with preparing the document, you sign it. It's a simple one-on-one conversation between two parties that says, look, I have A, B, C, D. I want to give A to my wife, B to my son, C to a charity, and D, perhaps a long-lost cousin.
Do I need to go to a lawyer, or I can say to Andile, these are my wishes, and then he has a very legible, beautiful writing. He writes all of those. Would that constitute a will?
Yes, it does constitute a will. Anyone can do a will in the comfort of their home. However, and this is where the caveat comes in, however, it is not advisable to have your will done by someone that is not neutral and far removed, because you and I know how these things go. After Andile does your will, then and there, the accusations of Andile coerced you. Andile, the will wasn't done voluntarily. Whereas when you have a neutral individual that is far removed from the family and yourself, it becomes a situation whereby no questions will be asked because they stand to benefit nothing whatsoever. So in our experience is that always ensure that you have institutions, not your fly-by-night, institutions that know what they're doing. Our institution called Wills Forever has a team of attorneys. So we at least are protected in that instance, because you would want someone or an institution that has a background, that can foresee risk, that can advise you from all spheres. So that is what we would say. It's advisable. You can, as yourself sitting at home, you can prepare your own will. There's absolutely nothing wrong. But it would be advisable to go to institutions that do this on a day-to-day basis. They can guide you. There'll be perhaps questions you hadn't thought about, or ways you want to distribute your assets in a different fashion or manner.
So speaking to people who are tuned now to Tea with Botha, you would say, what are the things that would really make people sit up and say, what are the consequences if you don't have a will?
Consequences of not having a will. Number one, the obvious, call it elephant in the room, is the turmoil and chaos it causes amongst family members. I've seen firsthand from our clients how a family has been ripped apart, siblings fighting, siblings threatening to kill one another because they're fighting over what their mother left them, protection orders being taken against the other, cases, counter cases being opened. So you understand where we were once a loving family has now, because of money, as we all know, the roots of the money is the root of evil. But you know, as the deceased, you know, you need to also say, okay, do I not want the best for my children? How do I set that up? I set that up in a process whereby I leave a will so that they don't have to fight. Consequences such as your assets being dissipated. We've seen scenarios where as soon as someone has been buried, to go squander, to go take whatever we can and gone. We've heard stories of Manome taking a car that belonged to Ndate, and it was supposed to go to the son. We've heard of such situations where houses have been sold. The family home has been sold. Now we have nowhere to go. We've heard of situations whereby, you know, going to the master the master of the High Court, and you know, there was scenarios of fraudulent wills submitted, and money is now disappearing, and so the consequences are endless. And this is why we are grateful for an opportunity like this to speak to your viewers, to say, look, let us wake up, South Africa. Let us wake up to these things. We need to start protecting one another, especially our loved ones, from what will happen after we pass away. You know, life is short. Unfortunately, you and I don't know how much time we have.
Absolutely.
And in that instance, let us, prepare our affairs so that when our Maker, whoever that is, calls upon us, we're not leaving this ripple.
The term you're talking about.
100%.
And Kabelo, tell me, there's this term that is frequently used. Someone has died interstate. Yes. What does it mean?
Dying interstate means that you've died without leaving a will, a valid will. So if someone did not leave a will, you pass away interstate. Now, you have what we call testate succession, and you have intestate succession.
What are those?
Okay. Testate succession means that you've left a valid will that outlines what your last wishes are. So you would have consulted with ourselves, and you would have a will. That means testate. Testate means that you have outlined how my
testate
must be distributed. Intestate succession means that you did not leave a will. Now, interstate succession then says, okay, who are perhaps did the deceased have a wife? Did the deceased have any children? And how it works is and there's different ways to deal with interstate succession. Let's say arguably that you were married in community of property. We all know what in community of property means. For those that don't know, it means 50-50, divided in half. So your wife would get 50% of what's in the estate, and the portion thereof would be divided amongst the children.
Great. Now that you talk about marriage, we move into another, sector, and another, which is also problematic. Look, before we do that, what's the master?
The master, okay. So the master of the High Court is the custodian appointed by the government to ensure that things such as estates, letters of executorship, letters of authority, trusts are registered. So it's an office that the government had established. It's one of the organs that have been established to assist your everyday South Africans to go and get your letters of executorship, to ensure that you produce a valid will, to ensure that in instances of intestate succession you are guided by the master in terms of processes. So it's there to assist any and all South Africans. It's an office for information, for submitting your legal documents.
It's free of charge? Free
of charge.
Do I need to be accompanied by a lawyer, or I don't need a lawyer?
You don't necessarily need a lawyer to go to the master's office. No, you don't. But it's advisable, because a lot of the things, when you use a lawyer or an institution like ourselves, it makes things a little bit easier for you. And submitting of documents also makes it easier, because we would obviously know how to submit those documents. The prevalent issue with a lot of people that go to the master, unfortunately, is the backlog. Is issues of files going missing, etc., etc. So that is the issues that the master is experiencing. However, not to speak ill of the master, they do wonderful work. They assist a lot of South Africans every day with getting these things done.
So you spoke about if you are married in community of property, 50-50. Talk to us. What are the different regimes of marriage in our country?
Okay, you have what we call married in community of property. Secondly, you have what we call married out of community of property.
What does that? You spoke about 50-50. 50-50. It's married in community of property.
Yeah. Yes. The second one is married out of community of property, including the accrual. The third is married out of community of property, excluding the accrual.
Excluding. Can you?
Let me unpack that.
Yeah.
Including the accrual means the following. Including. I'll begin with including accrual. Including accrual means that at the time that we were married, let's say for argument's sake, myself and my wife, At the time prior to us concluding our marriage, I had a house and she had a house. You understand? What the including accrual would say, okay, Kabelo, if you guys were to unfortunately pass away, that house, your house, you will keep it. She will keep her house and whatever she has, and whatever we accrue in our marriage.
Acquire.
In other words,
is that the same words?
100%.
Is the other one legal and?
Yes, indeed. Okay. For all the viewers to understand, whatever we amass, whatever we acquire, whatever we purchase whilst we are married, not what before the marriage. Whilst we are married, then we share in that part. But whatever we had, let's say I had 2 houses, she had 2 houses, they won't fall into this.
If you choose that type of.
If you choose that type of marriage. Now
that's with.
Including accrual.
Including accrual.
Excluding accrual means out and out. In other words, we are married. Whatever is mine is mine. Whatever is yours is yours. We will never share in anything.
Even when once we are together, we bought this stove together. We bought this fridge together. This bed together.
Yes. So what would happen in an instance like that if we our monies together, which happens in a lot of relationships? We will share it because we are coming as, let me give you a scenario. Let's say, for example, you are your boyfriend and girlfriend. You're not married, but we are co-bond holders of the house. Bank. The house is fully paid. On the title deed, it will reflect both of our names. You understand? So in this instance, the same thing. When you are married, excluding the accrual, it's just like in a partnership of a business. We're going to share in whatever. I put in 50,000, you put in 50,000, we bought this stove or this bed or whatever the asset is, we will share. But if in the marriage, no, TV. When we divorce, that will belong to me because I will have proof that no, we didn't buy this jointly. I have a receipt. I bought this alone without you. You don't have any proof that you bought this. So it must come to me. And that is excluding the accrual.
Excluding the accrual. We also talk about customary marriage.
Yes.
Civil marriage.
Yes.
What is customary marriage?
Okay, customary marriage and civil marriage. Customary marriage is something that falls under what we call Recognition of Customary Marriages Act. You and I know our forefathers used to have situations whereby they'd take more than one wife. And it's a common thing to this day. Perhaps some people arguably say we've lost out on our African culture. And we followed this European sort of culture of saying no, I must only have one wife because
it's more Christian, it's more godly.
It's more godly, But yes, not to get into that debate. But what a civil marriage is you have one wife. And you enter into any of the 3 type of marriages.
That's a civil marriage.
That's a civil marriage.
That may include with accrual, without accrual.
Yes, and in community
of property. In community of property. In community of property. Yes. That would be a civil marriage.
Civil marriage.
And then
customary marriage. Now, customary marriage is like I mentioned before, it's recognized, it's legislated in terms of the Recognition of Customary Marriages Act. Now, customary marriages are in net effect marriages that are concluded in community of property. In our law, if you're married in a customary marriage, now customary marriage could be a situation where
we went a few weeks ago, we went to my nephew Manta.
Yes.
We went to pay
negotiations.
So they're married already.
Yeah. How did he pay? Did he make a part payment or did he
No, part payment.
Part payment. So Usile, obviously, we understand that you can't make a full payment immediately.
So are they married?
So this is the where it gets interesting. There's been cases whereby a part payment has been made. However, how did they live after that? There's always every scenario is different. So let's say, for example, your nephew made a part payment, right? And we know after part payment. No, mfana tshwantse ilo sebetsanyana to
go back here.
Exactly. So what do you then do? His Manza then says, okay, I'm going to work, but he lives with her. They cohabitate. They live as husband and wife. Maybe they have a child together. life goes on, maybe a couple of years, Mandla said, look, I'm working, Gazama, I'm going to come and finish, he tells the family that he goes, and God forbid, Mandla passes away. What then? Family will arguably say, no, Mandla, we can't see you as the wife. Mandla fetso patala.
But as it is Busi his wife?
As it is at the moment, because of Pateti? No. At the moment, no. Because perhaps in whatever culture you have, there are certain cultural rituals that need to be completed. But let's say they cohabitated together for a couple of years. They have a child. She came to every family function in Kimakoti. We recognize it as Makoti. And then a scenario would then arise that she would arguably go to court and say, look, my husband didn't make full payment, but we lived as husband and wife. We may not have celebrated. We may not have made the full payment for the marriage customarily. But the courts have sort of gone into a situation of protecting women.
Protecting women.
Yes, because what happens is a lot of these buggers, and mind my language, is that they enter into a customary marriage. They live with this lady, and then he finds another woman, but he still keeps her. And then when he passes away, Wamulasha, or the family don't recognize, but she was there. So courts have now looked to the law to say, look, it's not a strict, okay, arafeto patala, there's no celebration, end of the road. You need to look into what happened in that marriage. What were the other circumstances? How did these two individuals relate to one another? How did the family look at her? And then the court has come and said that, look, this is a situation. I'll give you a scenario. The WHP didn't finish paying them.
Yeah.
And he what then happened was there was in the WHP Afeto Patala, he made a payment. After payment, there was no, the family said there was no celebration, but there was call it a oapesa.
That ritual,
yes. Just shortly after the payment. So in your nephew's scenario, shortly after part payment, there was maybe oapesa diaparo. Hey, hilili makoti, but
Yes, that's what happened.
Then they lived together as husband and wife. Time went on. Unfortunately, as we know, WHP passed away, and the bone of contention was that his wife was that, no, I'm the wife, and the family said, no ways, you're not the wife.
I remember. Yeah.
Yes,
someone went to court and
100%. She took it to court. It went as far as the Supreme Court of Appeal, and they were with her to say, look, we looking at not only the part payment, and your argument on the celebration was not valid. We are looking at the surrounding facts. How did these two individuals relate to one another? Did they live together? Did they cohabitate? Did they consider each other as husband and wife, etc., etc.? And the court came to the conclusion that, look, she is in fact the customary wife to the lady.
So what constitutes a legal customary wife?
Okay, there are requirements in our law. Number one, you need to be over the age of 18.
18.
Number two, there needs to be consent.
Yeah.
The marriage needs to be either celebrated and or entered into. Yes. So those are the requirements insofar as a valid customary marriage.
So it doesn't. The issues whether you did part payment, you did not come back.
No.
They don't arise.
In terms of our law, there's no requirement that says lobola must be paid.
So a lot of men say that Musadi had paid.
Yes, that's a faith.
So, but you said the law protects women.
Yes, it does. It does, because it protects women to ensure that what a majority of the time what used to happen in that is that lobola would be paid. Let me give you a scenario. Let me give you a real case study. Kabelo is working in KZN. Kabelo takes a customary wife, right?
Yeah, go KZN.
KZN.
Yeah.
Patala, I gafeto patala, I after gafeto patala, kimsia in KZN with my family. Kabelo gets a new job in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
Kabelo comes to the city of gold.
Yeah.
Kabelo thola msebenzi and then marries who? Sibongile. Sibongile wa Josie Maboneng.
Yeah. Unyetsi ntho ka kwana ke.
Yeah, ka setso.
Ka setso.
Yeah.
Untse mahadi. That's why you say he paid lobola edutjwa.
Yes, edutjwa.
Yeah.
Finished there. But he comes to Johannesburg and enters into a civil marriage.
So can he enter into a civil marriage when there is a traditional
now,
when there was a traditional?
This is where it gets interesting. Is when you have a customary marriage, 99.9% of the time, many South Africans don't go and register that customary marriage at Home Affairs.
Which is what? Is it what? Mrs. Zulu and Maisela or the Queen now? Yeah, I don't know if that's...
I think the argument for the King now is the King is married to the
is it Maisela,
wife.
Queen
Yeah.
Maisela?
Yes,
yeah.
They're married. And the argument there, if I remember correctly, is that he wants to conclude another marriage.
Yeah, and then she says
pending divorce proceedings.
Yeah,
so he's saying by law
this is bigamy now.
Yes, yeah, and two, you can't be in two marriages at the same time.
Yeah,
and this is where my example comes in.
So let's come back to your example. Yeah,
this is where my example comes in. So I marry Sibongile in Johannesburg. We go sign, go Home Affairs.
We go and sign, go Home Affairs.
Yes, we enter into a civil marriage.
And I paid lobola ko nobuhle.
Yes.
Ko edutjwa.
Yes. But I don't disclose to Sibongile that I have a wife back home.
Yeah.
I enter into the civil marriage. Home Affairs doesn't know any better. They check on the system. Okay, there's no marriages here. I enter into the marriage. This is a common thing that happens in our courts to this day. Is that when this guy passes away, arguably, who is the wife?
Who's the rightful heir? And to add to, there's no will here.
There's no will. There's no will. And let me ask again the question. In your opinion, who would be the wife in this scenario?
Look, I think for me, the wife would be the civil marriage.
Incorrect. Why is it incorrect? Respectfully, is that because there was a first marriage,
which is the lobola one.
100%. It's recognized as a marriage. This first marriage nullifies the second marriage.
So you don't have to go. You don't have to go to Home Affairs to register.
You should, because then it stops Kabelo from marrying.
Oh no, Fusta.
Hey.
So it would have been this marriage would have if he had gone. I
don't register.
Alo register go to Home Affairs.
Yes. Then
it would have hardwire if he goes there.
Home Affairs would have said, Emma Peli Abuti. We most systeming you're already married. You can't do this.
So what happens most of the time? We think that because I paid lobola, she's my wife, I'm married, there's no need to go to register.
And that's a misconception. Because we think of no, we've paid lobola, it's a done deal, I don't have to register. Now, the minister, as well as the Department of Home Affairs, has realized that there's a serious problem here. And that's why they've issued this notice to say, look, all South Africans, please come and register your customary marriages. You have up until 2025 to do so. This is call it the open sort of window period for all individuals that have customary marriages. Report to Home Affairs, register your marriages, so that you appear on the system, and then you will be issued with a marriage certificate. It would not usually, it says civil marriage. This time it will say customary marriage. So it's still a valid marriage certificate.
So Mandla, now that we've paid lobola, it is incumbent of him to go and register that.
Once he's completed.
So, but you said it's on a condition. You've just said earlier that I can't say part payment.
Yes.
But you say it's not a requirement. No,
it's not a requirement. But I get it. You when you go and register the marriage, you need to say to Home Affairs. Home Affairs will ask you the following questions. Okay, have all the cultural sort of traditional rights been met? And we need affidavits from your family members that says, look, We confirm that these two individuals have concluded a valid customary marriage, etc., etc. So I'm giving you a scenario whereby a full final payment has been made. But Mandla, being your nephew in this instance, if he hasn't made full payment, and he's made part payment, and it takes time to make the full payment, but he lives with the woman and he considers a husband and wife, she, if he is upon his untimely passing, she can go to court and say, look, I want to be recognized as the customary wife. I hope I'm making sense.
Oh, you're making sense. So you're saying if you go back to that Yatuchwa and Yamzimhlope, so the woman Ona Wamzimhlope, you said, who is married co home affairs.
Yes.
And the one who's married, but that's a registering, did not register marriage and go but it's a traditional, cultural.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens? You're saying in that example.
Yeah, in this example, you have two wives.
Yeah.
One in Etucha, customarily married.
Yeah.
We know her Kimakoti.
Yeah.
Done. Kamo in Johannesburg, civil marriage, but it's registered for Home Affairs. Okay, because Home Affairs doesn't know. Kamo, we didn't go and register the marriage for Home Affairs. So this is why it's incumbent upon you to, once you've concluded your customary marriage, you go and register it for Home Affairs. So you avoid a situation where Kabelo came to Johannesburg and married Sibongile. Now, what then happens is Kabelo passes away. After Kabelo passes away, then there's a tug of war, because now Sibongile comes, not Sibongile, my wife Koko Tuja comes and says, no, who are you, Sibongile?
Yes. What or no?
Yes. I'm entitled to 50%
of that letter, where we wrote down that, like we did with Mandla, that we're here on this Saturday. Exactly. This is what transpired.
This is how much we paid.
Then Makosazana comes with.
Yes, that lobola letter. To say, oh, no, I'm actually his wife. You are not his wife. Then she says, no. Mina I've got a marriage certificate. So who are you? So the tug of war then becomes, then this is the scenario that happens. They go to court. Court then looks at, okay, when was the first marriage concluded? When was the second marriage concluded? This one will take preference if she can prove that she was in a customary marriage. And this one, unfortunately, this is where the problem comes in. And this is where then we then come to as WILLSFOREVER. We say, you know what? It's very important to take a will. Get your husbands to take a will, so that at the very least, Usbongile would have at least been in his will, if you understand.
I do.
Because whatever that 50% would have been, this guy, Sbongile would at least have some sort of recourse to say, okay, it's fine. I'm also entitled to something. Because
so what if Jabulani does both of them, does wills for both of them?
How so?
Okay, I mean, in Tuchwa, and say, look, you know what,
Yes.
I've paid Lobola. Look, I want to have a will.
And then does another one later. That's a good question. Now, in a will, the first paragraph of a will says, I hereby revoke all my previous wills. So if I do a will today with you, and then tomorrow we do another will, in the second will, you say, I hereby revoke all my previous wills. So we are revoking this one. It disappears. It ceases to exist. If you understand what I mean.
No, I'll tell you what. I don't do those because I don't want on our Jabafu. I'd say there's a will that exists from a to.
No, she will never know. She will never know. Because you can't have two wills at the same time. You can't have two wills. We will always look at, okay, because it's your last wishes. So we will look at, okay, there's a will in 2018, there's a will in 2025. Which one should we consider? The 2025 one, because that's your latest will. You look at the latest will, and that's why number one paragraph in any will is that I hereby revoke any and all previous wills that I have concluded, so that there is no confusion.
So is that a
standard thing? Because you can't have someone that has 10 wills. Which one do we look at? You understand that the dilemma it creates.
I hear you. So how now we can trick the system?
No, you can't. The system is not there to be tricked. You can't trick the system into doing anything. The law is the law. It's going to say you revoke any and all previous wills, and it ensures that I don't have 10 wills, because now anyone looking at it will be seized with a headache, or the court, should I say, will be seized with the headache. Which one do we look at? So this is why the court will always, in this instance, look at the last will, because rightfully so, you would arguably say that that's what this individual wanted. That's what his last thought, that's what his last testament and wishes were, his last will. Not the will he did in 2010, the will he did in 2025.
What is your advice? How do you make sure that, you can't prescribe that this one is more superior,
Yes,
this other one is inferior? You can't say that.
No, I cannot. Everyone has a preference. I can't say one is more superior than the other. Like I mentioned before, that you could be in a customary marriage, and and we say, you know what, we don't want to do this thing of signing go home affairs.
Now, did you speak to? I can't remember if you did. Now, polygamy by 5.
By 5.
What happens?
Yes, so polygamy in that instance, it's also governed by customary law and customary marriages. So you would indicate to Home Affairs that, look, I've entered into a polygamous marriage. Ordinarily, how the Mseleku scenario would begin is you would have one wife, and then the next wife, and then the next wife, and then the next wife. It would depend on your customs, and what your customary law says. In some customary law, it says that, look, you need consent from the first wife before you conclude a marriage with the second wife, and. So it would depend. Every sort of tradition is different. Every sort of custom is different, because Zulu people and Tsonga
people,
and Chivenda do things differently.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah. So, but I'm just saying that do I register all 5 of them as how do I go about it?
Okay.
I mean, I'm married to 5 of them. All of them, do I register? Do I go to Home Affairs? What happens?
Yes, so you would go to Home Affairs, you'd approach your nearest Home Affairs, you'd say, Home Affairs, look, I've concluded customary marriages with these 3, 4, 5 individuals. They have consented. You bring them. Home Affairs will want to see who these individuals are. You come with them, and then there'll be paperwork they need to complete, affidavits from family members, their family members, to say that, look, they are aware that this person has concluded a customary marriage with all 5 individuals.
Lobola has been paid, and all the rituals have been made.
Exactly. So it's a tedious exercise, but it's an exercise that can be effected at Home Affairs, and Home Affairs will issue those marriage certificates.
So it doesn't mean that when I have concluded them at Nongoma or in Fostoras, that's the end of the story. I still have 5 of them. I still have to go to Home Affairs.
Yes, and this is why, touching back on what the Minister of Home Affairs and Home Affairs is saying, is come and register your marriages. The court is inundated with applications after applications of wife or wives fighting over who is the rightful wife, etc. When a scenario could have been avoided where you would have come to Home Affairs, registered the marriage, then there would be no dispute. So it's a common thing that's happened, and it's been happening, and this is why there's been a call to action to come to Home Affairs, register that customary marriage, and as yourselves, as viewers, maybe you are uncertain, you are and that day I can as
a wife.
As a wife, there's a lot of 99 questions that I can show on,
So I can say pretty much.
Yeah, maybe I can say
that one shasha.
Yeah, maybe one shasha.
Yeah.
I didn't go Home Affairs. I'll register lineal. Let's go. Then you at least are protected. Let's not live this life thinking things are hunky-dory. Things are fine.
So tell me, all of them, does it mean that there is what all of them have registered, about 5, all of them have registered them. Does it mean that it goes without saying that all of them are in community, or I still have to go back to do that processes you started with?
They will all be. So we will be sharing. So everyone will get call it 1/5. So we'll all be sharing. We'll all be sharing in the pot.
So there's no, this thing does not apply legally that when Dwenkulu, this is the first one. So she is the one that.
No, by our law, no. If number one, number five, we are equal, we are all his wives.
Yeah.
It's not Uti Undlenkulu or Abumamngani that are smaller get less.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way.
Have you registered same sex marriages?
No. Myself personally, no, I haven't.
I mean, you're the Wills Forever.
No, actually, we haven't, and it would be actually exciting to do that.
It would be exciting.
Yeah, it would be a game changer to do that. We haven't registered one, arguably.
Why do you think it would be a game changer?
No, not necessarily a game changer, but it would be, in the
South Africa,
unconventional, as well as in the South Africa we live in, that we are part of, call it a rainbow nation, an inclusive sort of nation that where we don't frown upon anyone in
the Constitution gives the right to same sex and
exactly. So we are governed by the Constitution, and then if someone were to come to our institution and say, look, we want assistance of this nature, we would welcome them.
So yeah, and that would mean the same conditions would apply. It would be because they are recognized and what. So it would up to them. What do they choose?
Indeed.
So their sexual orientation would not necessarily impact or affect the regime they want.
No. Okay. Sexual orientation does not affect.
Well, look, when Kabelo. What happens? We spoke about that. I remember asking you earlier that I can sit down here and say to Andile, to Hetile, look, this is, this is how I want to be. But then, lo and behold, I die. And then the family members contest that, no, this is not his signature. He could not have said this. He was coerced. He was on the deathbed. The long and short of my question, contested wills. What happens in that?
Okay, good question. Contested wills. In this sort of scenario, Andile has concluded a will on your behalf. You sat down on the table, you said, Andile, this, and the third, you signed. But your family believes that, look, no, and Andile is in the will now. Your family now believes that, look, there's a lot of suspicion here. Andile has put himself in the will. Andile is not even a family member, for argument's sake. Or Andile is not someone that Botha would ever consider putting in his will. But he's in the will for some reason or another. Now, what then happens is how a scenario would happen is, and this is why I said to you initially that the best way is to get an accredited institution, alternatively an attorney, to prepare that will, because there would be no, call it manga question marks about who concluded the will, that Botha signature has been perhaps faked or doctored or forged. So in a situation of that, you would avoid that. Now, in the Andile scenario, the family can go to court. They go to court and say, look, we want to challenge the will. Why are we challenging the will? We believe that Botha at the time lacked the necessary mental capacity. In other words, perhaps he wasn't lucid. He didn't know what he was doing. Two, when we compare the signatures of Botha, they don't correlate. You would get handwriting experts that would come and look at a specimen of various signatures, and looking at that specimen of various signatures, they would say, okay, looking at this signature and looking at 3 other signatures, this can't be his signature. So those are the types of things if you want to circumvent contested wills, because when you come to an institution like us, what do we gain? Absolutely nothing. We gain nothing. We take your will, we prepare it, we store it, it's kept, and there is absolutely nothing that we potentially gain. Family members will say, "Ooh, how would they contest it?" It becomes, the contested wills usually come in 2 scenarios. Number one, there's this new will that has somehow
just
emerged, gathered legs, or 2, when there was a family member that concluded the will. Those are let's call it the suspicious type of wills. But when you have wills that are concluded by banks, institutions, the court looks and says, but what is
with the banks and what? There are no problems and what?
Well, the will is concluded by a bank or an institution such as WILLSFOREVER. The court will then say, well, what did they gain out of this?
Who is or what is an executor?
Okay, good question. An executor is a person that is appointed by the testator. Testator is a person like yourself
Who writes a will?
who writes
My
the
will.
Yes,
I appoint.
Yes, I appoint that person to administer my estate. Administer my estate means that this person needs to ensure that whatever I've said in my will needs to sort of come to fruition. In other words, if I say this house must go to Kabelo, that executor must ensure that it happens. This car must go to Tapelo, the executor must ensure that that car goes to and. So whatever my last wishes are, that person is responsible of ensuring that my last wishes are
Who
carried out.
chooses an executor?
You choose your executor. You choose your executor, but most institutions mandate that you appoint them as the executor.
You mean in this instance, like the banks?
Like the banks. WILLSFOREVER doesn't do that, and that's what makes us different. We give you the election of choosing who your executor is. You and I know that you've heard, come do a free will with us, but you know nothing in life is free. And this is where we come to give people education and knowledge. When you're an executor, you are permitted to charge what we call executor's remuneration. Executor's remuneration, in other words, means that I can charge a cap amount of, call it 3.5% of whatever's in the estate. Additionally, which is what people don't know, is that you can charge another 6% of any income derived. So in other words, any income that has come into the estate late, I can charge that. Plus, for any professional services, 1 or 2%. And these are also inclusive of that. So you're looking at about 10 to 12% that an executor can charge. This is why we've said to a lot of South Africans, look, let's give you that election. You choose who you want to appoint as your executor. Now, with all of this, your institutions don't necessarily bring this to the play. I don't want to say that they are misleading you
yeah.
or
but they don't tell people.
But they don't tell you people. The information is there.
If I go to my bank and conclude this,
they'll most probably tell you about the 3.5%. But when you inquire additionally about, okay, I heard the other day that there's a 6% that you can charge. Oh yes, Mr. Botha. Yes, by the way, yeah, you can definitely charge. We can definitely charge that. But that's like if any money comes in, so you don't have to stress yourself too much about that. But they can charge that. So let's say you've got an estate worth R1 million. That's 100,000 rand that's coming out of your estate.
That goes to the executive.
100%. Whereas when with WILLSFOREVER, we give you that election. You choose. You choose who you want your executor to be. You choose a family member, you choose whoever, and you guys can agree on what percentage. The 3.5% is a guideline, it's a cap. You can say in your will that, look, the executor must charge 1%, must get 1% or 2%. You don't have to say the whole amount.
I must say, when Kabelo, very accessible information that you are giving, but also, and again, for me, is that these are the lived experiences. So I just want to thank you for this. For me, just an eye-opener. A lot of things that I hope that I'll share this with my nephew, man. Let's say, look, it's important to speak to people like, I'm not sure, I have not asked him, Mandla. He's born in August 1994. I'm not sure, because there's also a thing about young people that it will not happen to me. Death is something remote. It happens to people like you, who are above 60, who are on the edge, But there's this thing about the exuberance of youth. That So
nothing can ever happen.
Nothing can ever. How do they access WILLSFOREVER? I have been fortunate that I know you. And yeah.
Okay, our WhatsApp is 079
079
210
80
84. Yes.
That's the WhatsApp number.
That's our WhatsApp line.
And then you're on Facebook.
We're on Facebook.
Instagram.
We're on Instagram.
What are your handles?
At WILLSFOREVER, and on both Facebook and on Instagram.
And say, Kabelo, what are you offering? I mean, when we talk about WILLSFOREVER, what are you offering?
Okay.
What are your products?
What are my products? Fantastic. So we have 3 products. We have the first one which is our silver package, gold package, and our platinum package. With our wills, like we said, is that we don't want to be appointed executor. We charge you a monthly subscription. The first one is for 50 Rand. Now, what does 50 Rand entail? Number one, it entails a consultation with the wills provider, myself or any one of the team members. Number 2, the product offers you preparation and drafting of the will. That is when the will be prepared, drafted, and made that legally binding document as we discussed. And number 3, storage of the will. So we store that will. Not your will under a mattress and someone's going to come and take it one day.
You must be careful how you use mattress and other things. In this climate,
mattress and a sofa.
And a sofa. So
Yes. So it's not going to be.
I'm so saying, just be careful.
Yes. Definitely.
So you're saying you'd store it. That's for 50 Rand.
That's for 50
every month.
Every month, just the once off 50 Rand. I mean, you and I know in this climate, 50 Rand is next to nothing for a lot of South Africans. The second package is 80 Rand. 80 Rand has a more of a value add. So we have a consultation, as I mentioned before, with the will's provider, preparation and drafting of the will, storage of the will, as well as reading of the will. Many institutions don't offer that. I stand
where you have been asked to come. I remember when King Zolitini, may his soul rest in peace.
Yes.
I mean, everybody was called in to say we're going to read the will, and the will was contested. I mean, it's in court. I think so. As we speak now. So you come and read the will.
So what we are doing is we're changing the call it the business model that a lot of institutions. You're not going to get your bank that's going to come out and send someone to your family homestead to come and read the will. In the 80 Rand package, we will come and read the will to your family and or to your loved ones. So that is a value-added product that a lot of other institutions actually, they don't have it. Instances where reading of the will happens is when perhaps an attorney comes and says, look, this was a long-standing client of mine, let me come and read the will. But institutions nowadays don't have the time and don't have that personal element of coming to that ubuntu, of coming to the family, being with them and helping them understand what happens after they pass away. Now, our last, call it our talisman or our platinum package, includes consultation and drafting of the will. Consultation, should I say, drafting of the will, storage, reading of the will, and free legal advice. What do you do in Ntate Botha? We've read the will to your family. Now, banally will. How do I go and transfer property? How do I go and get letters of executorship? How do I, transfer this car and change ownership into my name? Where do I get investments? Another exciting sort of value add that we are offering is the following to our product offering, is that we'll store all your policies. Now, the most difficult thing with family members is, if you pass away, we don't know who Ntate Botha had a policy called mutual, go guy.
So you cater for those?
We cater for that. So what we're saying...
You'll also explain to me, this goes where, this what, 100%. According to the will, and
100%.
This is what he...
Exactly. So what tends to happen a lot of the times, let's say you've got a provident fund, you've got this, you've got that. You've got funeral, let's say provident fund, retirement, etc. Now, with all of those policies, what happens with a lot of our clients and a lot of South Africans is that when you pass away, we don't know as a family. I can we keep things to ourselves. You are not inclined most of the time to divulge policy guy.
Remember, I can't because they would be involved.
Exactly.
There's no Sehwameti now in the High Court in Mafeking. So
to disclose
what's my game? Yes, this could be family members. Get a hitman. They may hit me.
Exactly.
So it's understandable why people are reluctant.
Exactly my point. But with our new value-added product, we say to people, no, we don't want to know what's in that policy. Just give us the information. We will store it for you in the 100 Rand package. We store all of this information for you, mahala, so that when your family comes, they have your will and all of the policies that come with the will. And it's a new product in the market.
It will be linked to market related.
And no one, like I mentioned before, is offering this type of product. Because at the end of the day, you need to bring a product that alleviates problems. You need to bring
The
up
turmoil you spoke about.
Indeed,
Yeah,
indeed. So
yeah.
this is
and
what
the fights and the
exactly,
families,
and
yeah.
it's gonna make it easier for family members to know. Oh, look, my dad passed away. But I know that, you know, with his will, I don't have to go look under a mattress. Didn't have to go look in an envelope. Guy. Everything was stored in one house, and I was able to take that will, go wherever I needed to go.
Do you advise that I share with my family or kids that my will is with, Wills Forever, or what do they find this by when they after my death, or what's your advice?
My advice and our advice to our clients is the following: a will is private and confidential. Remember that. All you need to do is notify a loved one to say that, look, I have a will at this and this place. If anything were to happen to me, contact them. Simple. Don't disclose what's in the will. You don't have to disclose what's in the will. That's that, and it ends there. We will never disclose your will without your consent. The only time we'll disclose it if you've taken one of our packages that says you need to come out and read your will. But that obviously would be upon your untimely passing.
Wonderful. Once again, your landline, we have the WhatsApp. Your landline?
Our landline is the following.
Yeah.
It's 010
010
500
500
18 05.
05.
Yes, if for the viewers, if they want to email us, they can email us at info@willsforever.co.za or at admin@willsforever.co.za. We have a website, www.willsforever.co.za. Feel free, we have information there. We actually even have an online will that you can complete. You would do it in the comfort of your home. So yes.
And what happens after completing that online?
Yes, after you've completed the will, that we would get the information. The will would be prepared by ourselves, and then we would send the will back to you.
Okay. At no charge?
At no charge, you would outline which package you want, and then we would then be able to then prepare the will for you.
Thank you so much,
Kabelo.
Thank you for this.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you have been able to get lots and lots of information on what we really need as a society. And he has been very deliberate and focused that this is about us as Black people, notwithstanding that other races, but we're concerned about us. And I think this session is what I call, this is self-love. It's an investment. It's a deliberate, purposeful investment that we have done today. And thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing this cup of tea with us and Kabelo. I hope you'll continue to like us and to subscribe. Thank you.
This is Tea with Botha.